peso de inmediato con espectáculo. ¡No lo puedo creer!
2015 was a strong and prosperous year for the UFC. We're proud to recall some of our many accomplishments this year in the Latin American market, thanks to our excellent partners and our innovative team. In 2015, our 16 distribution partners in Latin America broadcast 52 one-hour weekly series, including the hit Tough Latin America Season 2. In addition, we've extended our distribution into countries we haven't reached before and are negotiating with even more. Since May of 2013, our television partner Televisa has aired 1,638 hours of UFC content throughout their networks, building a fan base that will be eager to subscribe to UFC Network. This year, UFC Network has achieved unprecedented numbers. We saw an 80% increase since December 2014. Our business is nothing without the fans. They are the ultimate priority in everything we do.
Hola, me llamo Gonzalo, soy chileno y desde que tengo UFC Network no me pierdo ningún evento.
Les hago una pregunta. ¿Quién dijo que a las mujeres no les gustan las artes marciales?
A mí me encantan las artes marciales mixtas. No me pierdo el UFC Network. Mi peleador favorito es Jair el Pantera Rodríguez.
Me gusta UFC Network porque puedo ver las peleas en vivo, los pesajes, los análisis, realities, entre otras cosas.
Me considero fan número uno de la UFC Network porque pasan todo lo relacionado a la UFC, la mejor promotora de artes marciales mixtas en el mundo.
Lo que más me gusta de UFC Network es la accesibilidad que tiene para todos los eventos, ¿no? Justamente ahora estoy viendo el UFC Fight Pass.
The highly anticipated fight at UFC 188 in Mexico City not only sold out the arena, but the television broadcast brought even more impressive numbers for every single country, reaching 64 million people in the region.
Compañeros, amigos, el ambiente en la arena es electrizante.
Season 2 of The Ultimate Fighter Latin America was a key element of our success, showcasing local talent from 9 different countries. Thanks to the outstanding performances of our Latin fighters, fans embraced the show with open arms, and that tripled our hits in Tough Latam's social media platforms. Local fighters also helped boost the brand with their posts. On Facebook, we've now reached over 17.9 million fans worldwide, 1.8 million more since the end of 2014. In Latin America, growth has been even more impressive, with a plus 590% increase. UFC Network's Twitter has grown 102% worldwide, reaching 46,800 new followers, which puts us at an all-time high of 2.7 million. With the recent launch of UFC Fight Pass in Latin America, we attained the highest percentage increase compared to any other region. In 6 months, UFC Fight Pass will be available in Spanish, and UFC Network will be included as a standalone offer, the best product for cord cutter fans. Our prolific PR team launched numerous effective campaigns this past year, visiting 12 cities in 3 weeks, organizing various activities such as press conferences, open workouts, and meet and greets that all helped reach new fans and bring the UFC brand closer to the Latin American market. The result was several new sponsors, grand openings of gyms, product sales, and big screen promotions. But we're not stopping there. We've got exciting new goals and objectives to meet for 2016 to take us even further. We'll continue to promote UFC Network so we can bring even more new fans to MMA and reach our subscriber goal. We'll welcome the much-anticipated 3rd season of Tough Latin America that will be produced locally so we can encourage new fighters in the region. In 2016, UFC Network will transmit 40 live events, including pay-per-view, fight nights, UFC on Fox, and the most anticipated rematch in the region. UFC 196 will be heavily supported by our partners to attract new fans throughout Latin America. Our milestone, UFC 200, one of the most anticipated events of the year, will pave the path for a successful 5th event in Mexico. Exciting events, defending champions, seasonal rematches, and new contenders are a certainty for 2016. It will be an epic new chapter for the UFC from Mexico to Argentina. We will continue to make history.
Great, thank you. Thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate it. I want to also thank Hugh McCarthy, Televisa Networks. Thanks for bringing me down, Hugh. Appreciate it. So do we have any UFC fans in the audience? Did anyone follow UFC? Just get under. So obviously the brand is big. It's grown tremendously over the last 20 years. Specifically in Mexico, the last 10 years have been really monumental for the company. UFC is a global sports brand. You can see it's aired all over the world. The sport is mixed martial arts, but the brand is UFC. And so for fight fans around the world, there is one common denominator is watching the UFC events. Fans are able to watch the best fighters around the world, wherever they are, wherever the fighters are from. And we have fighters from dozens and dozens of countries around the world. We have fans from dozens of countries around the world. Today, the UFC has offices in Asia, South America, Canada, in Europe, and we continue to expand. And so it works well, and we'll get into why it works so well, but the growth has really been because of the fan base, and we'll talk about how we deliver our content to the fans. Right now, the UFC is aired in 150 countries in 26 languages. So the question is, how are we delivering our content? How are we reaching the fans? For us, it's all about delivery. It's all about the platforms. And we believe that if we have the right mix of platforms, the audience for us is completely endless. We do believe, and we've said it before, Latin America is, the land of soccer, of football. For us, our goal have always been to be the second biggest sport in the world, and we have a track record now of doing that. Years ago, I told friends I was going to Brazil and that we were, with a team of people, going to go down and make UFC the second most popular sport to soccer. People thought we were crazy, but it happened, and now it's happening in the rest of Latin America, it's happening throughout Europe, and it's happening throughout Asia. And it's all because of our delivery methods. We first, finding the right platforms, have always worked to try to partner with world-class media companies. So some of our big media companies, in the US we have Fox, in Spanish Latin America we have Televisa, and in Brazil, for example, we have Globo. In Europe we have partnerships with BT, we have partnerships in France, Germany, with all of the leading TV providers. And now the networks are more than just TV networks. They're portals. I think Televisa itself has, hundreds of websites. They have major sports portals. So for us is partnering with that media partner, figuring out the best paths of distribution, and really taking our content and breaking it up in many different ways. So, for example, some of our key initiatives, we started in 2011 with the rise of everything digital. We approached Facebook in 2011 and said, we want to start showing some of our live fights on Facebook because we knew our fans were there. And so we were the first sports brand to ever show a live sporting event on Facebook. It absolutely took off, and it spread like wildfire. So if I was watching UFC on Facebook and I wanted to share that experience with my other friends on Facebook, it was so easy to do. And obviously that was 2011. We've come a long way. We're taking advantage of all of the social media that's been hitting. And more importantly, specific to Latin America, as in Mexico, as in all the other countries in the Southern Cone, most of the major media companies now, the newspapers that were really conglomerates, have all focused their business on running their portals. And we have now worked very hard. We have a great team of people. Every day we are reaching out to these media companies, and we've networked now in Latin America alone with over 250 portals. So we are breaking up our content. We have a content strategy where we have some exclusive content, lots of news and information, lots of editorial, and we're really trying to connect with the local audiences, really through the portals. So all the major newspapers now that have to stay relevant in the digital space, they all need content. UFC content, fights can last as little as 3 seconds up to a 25-minute championship fight. So it's great content when you start to break it up. I think the success, too, of relating to the fans and building more content outside of sort of the pinnacle big fights that we put on, we have 40 events a year right now, is the access to our fighters. So at least from a U.S. perspective, if you talk about NFL or Major League Baseball, it is very hard for fans to interact with their heroes, with the athletes. It's virtually impossible. The UFC is completely different. Majority of our fighters are interested in spreading the sport, so a lot of our fan interaction happens. We do lots of media tours. We're bringing fighters down. We do many fan expos. We are always trying to interact to make the fans be able to touch the fighters, and what happens out of that is we create more content. So there's a lot of dedicated editorial work that we do where we're bringing the media to the fighters, and we can incorporate fighters' past fights that are very interesting for fans to watch, talking about how they got to where they are and where they're going. And outside of the fight game, too, talking about their lifestyles. Our fighters come from all different walks of life, and they connect with such a wide fan base, regardless of economic means, social status, language. All those barriers go away when you start to get into the world of UFC. As technology has changed now over the last years, and now you see all the over-the-top services happening, the UFC years ago was looking at this. So we kept a lot of our rights back in terms of standard television so that we had the ability to work on this digital space. We launched about 2 years ago an over-the-top product called UFC Fight Pass. And we basically put our entire library of fights on this product, so sort of a VOD. You can scroll through and you can either pick your favorite fighter or you can pick your favorite event. Very easy to navigate. And you're able to access our whole library of fights. We ended up also now producing specific live events for Fight Pass. So Fight Pass is an over-the-top service. It is a monthly subscription fee, and now this is being launched all over. It's currently available in Latin America, and as you saw in the video, over the next few months we'll even localize it in Spanish, but we're realizing it's really not even that critical for us to do that so soon, because fans are consuming this media. It's the way they want to consume it, when they want to consume it, and we're meeting their needs. So on your handheld, you're able to watch fights wherever you are. You could be in a restaurant waiting to be seated and be able to watch a fight quickly. So it's really very convenient. For us, Fight Pass is a way, again, to connect to the fans. The digital world now is making it so much easier to connect with fans that are just bypassing traditional cable and satellite. So for us, we always look at, for the UFC, what we're doing, we always try to be agnostic. So even though we love the relationships we have with these major media companies around the world, we always want to make sure that without any barriers or restrictions, we can sort of create our own world and reach to the fans. 2 years ago, knowing sort of the evolution of digital cable in Latin America, we partnered up with Televisa Networks and we launched a 24-hour, 7-day subscription channel called UFC Network. It's the first network that we've ever launched. We started with Latin America. We felt there was a huge fan base that we know of. We know, for example, in Mexico, we have over 33 million fans now. Partnering up with Televisa Networks with their distribution through Mexico all the way down to Argentina. Having the content that we have working together where, again, we're localizing content for all the areas. We're working closely with Televisa, creating new Spanish language programming, talking to the fans about the issues that they care about locally here. Through this process, we're developing new fighters, and for us, it's tens of hours of new content a week get pushed out. Probably one of the biggest game changers for us in terms of expanding and reaching to the fans has been the Ultimate Fighter series. This is the longest running sports reality show in the United States. It's been running since 2005. We've taken that same format, and for some who don't know, it's a reality show. It's sort of like our Big Brother. There are 16 fighters living in a house on 2 teams with 2 UFC accomplished coaches that are training them. And ultimately, at the end of every episode, there's an actual fight, highly regulated fight, and the winners advance. And at the end of the show, there is a live finale, which is part of one of our live events. The winner ultimately gets into the UFC and gets a contract to be a UFC fighter. That show now we've taken to Latin America. It's going to go into its 3rd season this year. Hugely successful. And what that show does, it opens up our audience, our fan base. You're able to see all about the fighters, how they train, how they live, where they come from, what their stories are. And the fans become literally overnight. We turn a casual fan into a hardcore fan. We turn a fan that's not even sure what it is into a casual fan, because they have a connection and relationship with these fighters. And they watch these fighters' careers. So for us, The Ultimate Fighter has been a great tool to do this. We develop talent locally. We have fighters from Nicaragua, Honduras, from Paraguay, from Argentina, from Chile. All of the countries within this region, we truly treat equally, regardless of the amount of population or the ad sales revenue in a country or any sort of the financial, because there are fighters everywhere within Latin America. And what we love to show is that every athlete who trains mixed martial arts and has a goal and has a dream to become a UFC fighter, they do have that ability. So for us, that Ultimate Fighter has been great. Spinning off into other aspects, into lifestyle, we have launched in the past UFC Fit, which is a workout video. And that now is being aired on UFC Network. So if you are a subscriber, aside from all the fight content that you're getting, you're also able to train like a fighter. So I might not ever end up in an octagon one day. It's not going to be a dream to ever be a fighter, but I can live a lifestyle like a fighter. I can train. I can learn about how to eat healthy. I can understand all the attributes that really come with mixed martial arts: respect, discipline. It's a culture that now has existed for time, but now is spreading more on a mainstream level. So some of the results, what we do when we're mixing our television platforms with our digital platforms, we are delivering to a fan base that is rabid and growing specific Spanish-speaking content on a daily basis. We are interacting with all the media outlets, all the newspapers, all the portals, and we are ultimately communicating directly with the fan. And so what we believe through this whole process is that we are able to create a community of UFC fans, many which are in the room today, so that everyone really feels a part and is directly responsible for the growth of this brand. We believe that the UFC brand is going to be around for the next hundreds of years, and we believe it's life-changing for people. It can be life-changing for the fighters and their families. It can be inspirational for the fans. So this is sort of part of what we're doing. And a lot of it is that we're answering to a demand that already exists. So our goals of delivering world-class content to fans continue because the fan base just keeps growing. People want to be associated with the UFC. And so I think in conclusion, what we've done is taken really what 20 years ago was not ever allowed on television. We formalized it so that we could educate people to show that it was a sport. And once we came over that hump, we were able to work with the changing technologies and also work with a growing fan base that now is starting as young as 7, 8 years old and all the way up to 55 plus, again, no matter where they're coming from. And by delivering this content digitally through traditional linear television, over the top now, and also offering highlights and selected content throughout all the social platforms that exist, I think has created a great environment now to continue to grow the sport and really to continue to add new fans on a daily basis. So I want to thank everyone for their time, and I think we'll have some questions after when the panel starts.